Okay, there we go. Without further ado, I think it is time to start. My name is Nelia, and I'm the marketing coordinator at D6, and this is Vainant. And this morning we greet you and we tell you thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are very excited. This morning it is the ending to our series of webinars with the theme Financial Sustainability in Schools. Our first webinar was D6 Pay, our sticker product. It's not a new product. If you are not using that at all yet, please talk to us. If parents are able to pay anywhere, anytime, it really improves the way parents pay and the way you receive payments. It's quicker, it's faster, and it really makes everybody's life so much easier. And there are a few interesting developments there. We now also have the functionality of web tabs or online shops that you can also put there if you have a tuck shop or a clothing store or whatever that you want to add there. So if you're interested in those, you missed those, please let me know and we will get you up to speed. The second one was our fees webinar, which is our debt management tool. So we very excited about that product. We've received amazing feedback from schools. If you're on the D6 Finance module, it is a great integrated tool to help you manage your debt, and we're very excited about that product. But today we are here for Altivo, our sponsor management platform, which is going to help you guys with a revenue stream of income and how to manage your sponsors, which is a great benefit to schools. But before I give over to Vainant, this is the end to our webinar series. If you have any questions, let me know. And then lastly, as a marketer has to, just make sure I market all my opportunities to see schools. We have our D6 events, the last one for the year. We usually have 2 in a year. Please join them. We have one in Durban, Centurion, and Durbanville. This is the event where we get to talk to our schools, hear what their needs are in school. We talk about the products that we offer, changes that we do, and we are launching a very big product at this event. So please don't miss it. If you've missed the invitation, please send me an email. I would love to have you there. Please don't miss it. But for now, we are talking Altivo. Enjoy it. Just from a technical perspective, we cannot hear you. We cannot see you. On the right-hand side, there's a chat box where you can ask your questions. People inside, you can just raise your hand and then we can answer your questions. So I will answer them there. We will try and answer all the questions at the end as well. Maybe there's more than one person that has the same question, and then we will take it from there. So yeah, enjoy. Over to you, Vainant.
Thank you, Nelia. Good morning, everyone. My name is Vainant. I'm the head of media. It's really a privilege for me to stand in front of you today, and once again, thanks for the people that came in and for the people that join online. I know schools are super busy, and I know time is of the essence, but really excited to share with you what we are helping schools with in this front. Today, obviously chatting everything Altivo, and when we say Altivo, we refer to how we help schools with regards to securing additional sponsors on the one side, but then also with regards to how we help them manage this environment and give them a structure and a platform as a solution. So just before we go into the actual needs that we see in the market and how we came across the solution and how we help schools, I think there's just value to set the scene from a landscaping perspective as an introduction. So as mentioned, this is the Altivo webinar. It kind of ties in with the series of webinars that we've been doing the past couple of weeks. Obviously, the theme throughout the series has been with regards to financial sustainability. And that is our intention and our aim with Altivo, is to help schools grow when it comes to financial sustainability. We find, upon our engagement with the market, with schools, extensive engagement that we've done, currently 2 of the biggest challenges that schools face is with regards to, on the one hand, sponsorship management, but at the same time with regards to debt management. And one of the main ways that schools combat debt management in order to raise additional funds is through sponsors. So this is a really exciting space. There's a lot of opportunity. And the past couple of years, we can definitely see that more schools are starting to focus on this, where historically, it wasn't necessarily a big focus area for a lot of schools. From a landscaping perspective, the so what here is just to kind of paint the picture of how big the opportunity is. I think on average in South Africa, about 1.4 million people attend school sports every weekend on average in South Africa. So that's obviously a combination of parents mostly, but families that attend school sports physically at schools in South Africa on average. And if we compare that to professional sports, there's only about 150,000 people that attend professional sports on average in South Africa every weekend. So that's close to 10x, obviously 9.333 times exactly if you do the calculation. But I think the takeaway here for me is the market is so big and there's so much opportunity. It's close to 10 times bigger. And I think when there's a lot of people, eyes, feet, traffic at schools, that's obviously an ideal opportunity for people to get exposure to brands and to sponsors. Yet the reality is a lot of professional sports still secure bigger ad spend and bigger sponsors. And we are asking the question why? Because the market is so much bigger on the school front. We can already see a shift in the market as more and more schools start to focus on this. But we sincerely believe that it's only a matter of time before schools will eventually start competing with professional sports for advertising spend and sponsors. It's already happening, we can see it, but I think the reason why, I think, is just because of the past 10, 20 years, it hasn't been a major focus for a lot of schools, but that's definitely changing. So on the one front, I think that's why there's always been this disconnect. And then secondly, I think within this environment, there hasn't been a lot of support and infrastructure for schools in order to be able to commercialize this on the one hand effectively, but then in turn to manage it effectively. And that is where we come in and where we are helping schools. Okay, challenges schools face within this space. I think, in our opinion, any really good product or solution stems from a challenge or a need in the market. It should definitely not originate from a place where we think this is a great idea and we just go and create something. So we've extensively engaged with a lot of schools to find out what their pain points are within this space. And I think the starting point is schools are busy. I think you will obviously know way better than I, but we realize that schools are super, super busy. And a lot of schools don't have the capacity, the time, or potentially the know-how and expertise to kind of effectively commercialize sponsors at schools. Yet the reality is most, if not all schools are proactively on the lookout for ways to raise additional funds. And one of the main ways that schools approach this is via sponsors. I think to go a bit more granular with regards to some of the challenges that schools face within this specific space is when we engage with a lot of schools and we ask them how they manage their current sponsors, it becomes apparent that a lot of schools, even prominent schools, don't necessarily have confidence in how they go about managing sponsors. They don't have a specific platform. They don't have visibility in one central place. It's quite fragmented. A lot of schools will have it on file, so they'll keep it on paper. They'll maybe have an Excel sheet or a variety of places where they store a lot of the data. And some schools have either no visibility or process and structure in place. So obviously, if that is the case, if one doesn't have visibility of it, it becomes quite difficult to manage. So that's the starting point. And one of the biggest challenges that we see schools face within this space. Then in turn, it's quite manual, kind of ties in with the fragmented and the paper trail of things, which is obviously inefficient and prone to errors. The lack of data, obviously, if we don't have data, you can't necessarily report on that. And I think one of the, in marketing in general, in advertising and in sponsorship, is definitely moving towards a space where people are wanting to know where their ad spend is going. Long gone are the days where people just throw money at a school or at a publisher and without necessarily wanting to know or see where their spend is going with regards to stats and data. As mentioned, little or no structure with regards to how they approach it. It's quite ad hoc or reactive. And then lastly, ineffective or reactive communication with sponsors and internal stakeholders. We realize the value of communication, especially when it comes to building relationships. And in the sponsorship world, building relationships are key. But if one is reactive and ineffective on this front, I think obviously in turn it will impact relationships and then that recurring spend that one can get from sponsors. So this is very high level, but some of the main challenges that we saw when we engage with schools and the market. Okay, from a solution perspective, so as mentioned, I think any great product or solution should stem from challenges and the need in the market. And then what we then did is we went down the rabbit hole of helping schools and assisting them with regards to, on the one hand, securing more sponsors, and I'll touch on that a bit more detail now. And then on the second front, with regards to knowing that as schools grow their sponsorship and the amount of sponsors, they will in turn need infrastructure and structure with regards to how they manage it. So that's where the platform comes in. So currently we help schools on two fronts. And the first one being, we have a dedicated media sales team who specializes in engaging with the market on a daily basis. So that's a variety of brands, businesses, media agencies that we have a relationship with. And we can partner with the school if they have a need, that they have remnant or vacant existing advertising spend or assets. So a billboard or a newsletter, or they have space that they're currently not commercializing themselves. Because we realize most schools don't have the time or a dedicated person necessarily that goes out in order to look for sponsors or acquire sponsors. So there's a need where schools have a need to get more sponsors. We have a team that already has relationship and goes out and engages with the market on a daily basis. And we thought that that's an ideal opportunity to bring the two together. So we can help schools secure more sponsors. I think that's on the first front within this Altivo world. And some of the benefits, I think it's obviously apparent, but to go through it, I think increased fundraising, that's the big one. So we can help a school generate more revenue via securing more sponsors. The second one being, we can save the school time. So obviously if they don't necessarily have to go out, or they, on the one hand, have their sponsors that are repeat clients, but they don't necessarily go and secure new ones, it'll save the school time. And that those two kind of tie in to form the third benefit, which we want to assist schools with regards to their main mission. And we believe the main mission of most schools, if not all schools, is obviously on the educational front. So if we can help them be more financially sustainable by increasing revenue, and then at the same time helping them save time, they can spend more time, have more funds to focus more on the educational front. So that's the first part of Altivo, of how we can assist schools, is via securing additional sponsors. Secondly is with regards to the platform, because we realize that as the amount of sponsors grows at a school, the amount of people that you engage with, obviously the need will grow with regards to having a system in place to manage it. Because if one has one sponsor, one is not necessarily stretched from a capacity perspective. But if you have 10, 20, 30, 40 sponsors, it becomes much more complex to manage. And that's where the platform comes in. So we created a dedicated sponsorship management platform. And the idea there is to solve a lot of the pain points with regards to which I mentioned in the beginning, with regards to some of the challenges that schools face when it comes to managing sponsors. So the first one being, we created the platform, and the idea was to centralize all the data in one place. If you have the data all in one place, that in turn empowers you on a lot of fronts. And the first one being is the visibility it creates. So if you have all the data, it gives you the opportunity to be proactive, because you can review the data, you can make informed decisions, and you can make data-driven decisions. Centralized control, so that kind of ties in with the have everything in one place and the visibility it creates, but you can have all the stuff that's related to this environment, whether it's a borgbeleid or a sponsorship policy, sorry for my Afrikaans, whether it's creative, so actual advertising creatives, a billboard or a contract or invoices or any documentation that you normally would share and have on file for a sponsor, you can host or you can have in the system. So once again, having everything in one place. Once everything is in one place, that obviously in turn empowers one to automate certain tasks, because we realize there's a lot of manual tasks that takes place currently in schools, and we believe all the small little parts of time that we can save schools will obviously help a school to focus on different things and make their lives easier. So the platform is set up in such a way that we can automate certain tasks, and there's a slide following this that kind of touches on some of the main stuff that we can automate throughout the platform. I've mentioned the kind of proactive approach. I think we realize that schools, because they don't have visibility and they don't have confidence in how they manage it, a lot of the time it tends to be quite reactive with regards to how they approach it. So we've spoken to schools and then at a school, and then they would realize, oh, that billboard, now that I'm thinking of it, it should have come down 3 months ago, or that sponsorship has already ended. But without having visibility of that real time constantly, one is prone to be reactive rather than proactive. Then, I know I've mentioned communication, but super important when it comes to sponsors and relationships in general. And the system improves communication, not only with sponsors externally, but also internally with regards to certain decision makers in a school. Because we realize that marketing personnel might not only just get pressure maybe from a sponsor to see where their spend has gone and the exposure that they've gotten, but at the same time also internally when it comes to decision makers like headmasters or SGB members. So once again, if you have all the data in one place, you can obviously quite easily share that and provide confidence to internal stakeholders as well. And then lastly, maximize revenue. So I think saving time, being more efficient, being proactive, building on the relationships that you have, all of that kind of forms a cocktail to empower a school to be more efficient when it comes to generating additional revenue from the space within a school. And that's very high level, but some of the main points or benefits that the dedicated sponsorship management platform can help a school with. I will later on give over to my colleague who developed the platform, Pierre, and he will take us through the actual platform in detail. So I don't want to take away too much from the man's spotlight, but maybe a high level just to highlight some of the key benefits. So on the automations front, I know I mentioned in the previous slide with regards to certain tasks, but just to mention some of the tasks. So allocation, 60 days remaining alerts in your inbox. So if a sponsorship is getting close to ending, the actual date of it, normally school will sign obviously it will depend on the actual deal that's being brokered, but it might be a year contract or 6 months or 3 months or whatever that duration is. If it's coming close to an end, the system is set up in such a way that the school then, the dedicated person that's managing this, or that's the user, or the email address that you've put in, will then automatically get a notification to say, sponsor X or Coca-Cola, for instance, with all the details. Their sponsorship is coming to an end. Once again, to act as a reminder and be proactive with regards to empowering you to be conscious of that, and then having the opportunity to reach out to them in advance. Obviously, try and see if you can broker another deal or for them to extend. Similarly, with the allocation, the low balance. So if a sponsor has donated or sponsored 100,000 Rand to the school, for example, if that balance is coming close to an end, so 10% that's left in the kitty of that specific sponsor, one will also get a reminder or alert on that front. Payment thank you. So that's just once again on the relationship building side. So a thank you that goes out. Happy birthday. We actually spoke to a lot of schools, and this was a request that we got from schools. Is it possible in the system that we can actually get a reminder when the person we engage with at a sponsor or at a brand, when it's their birthday? Can the system notify me that I can then reach out to them? Because once again, we understand how important it is to build relationship and just be humans at the end of the day. And then lastly, when it comes to certain certification or documentation that happens in this world at a school, a lot of schools that have a PBO, so a public beneficiary organization, or an NPO or CSI, and obviously registered at SARS, so they are certified or in a position to be able to action Section 18A tax certificates to sponsors. The system is set up in such a way that it can automate that or create the actual certificate for a school, that you don't have to do it manually. So just once again, saving you some time. And then lastly, with regards to invoices, the system is also set up in such a way that it can generate invoices if you would want to, and then you can send that to your sponsors, once again, saving you time. Okay, that's maybe just a sneak peek, some dashboard view of the actual platform, but once again, PG will take us through everything in detail a bit later. Okay, why Altivo? That's a question that pops up every now and again. I think the name Altivo means lofty or high or taking to new heights. And that is what we are trying to achieve and assist schools with. We want to hold hands with the school and walk a path and help them elevate to new heights when it comes to their sponsorship world or their environment at a school. If one looks at the actual logo or the thumbnail there, you can see the light green. It is implying or referencing an A, obviously Altivo. I know that's pretty self-explanatory, hopefully. And then also it's in the shape of a mountain. And the reason why is we realize that this is not necessarily a sprint. This is not a quick fix. We want to walk a path with the school, and this is definitely an ongoing thing. So it's a marathon. Climbing a mountain is not easy. It doesn't happen in an hour. So we want to walk this path with the school and help them go to new heights. Once again, just maybe some information about the rationale behind the brand and the name. And then lastly, or second to last, what I can mention on this is you'll see the actual light green section within the green is made up of a couple of blocks or parts. It's not just one light green line. And the reason behind that is we believe any successful relationship, there's obviously multiple people involved. It's not just one person. And we want to support schools, and we want to work hand in hand. So it's a makeup of a lot of different parts within this world and how we support each other. I think that's very important. And then lastly, maybe just on the colors, why we went for green is we believe green implies or is a metaphor or kind of showcases or means growth and sustainability. And that's obviously the intention of us, is to help schools grow and be sustainable on this front. Okay, that's maybe also just a sneak peek for those that haven't seen it yet. That's our website. You are welcome to go and check it out for more information and all the details. Altivo.tech or altivo.co.za. And then second to last, maybe just a summary from my side, and then I'll give over to my colleague to showcase the actual platform. Just to recap, I think the intention with Altivo, especially on the platform side, is to provide schools with structure. We know that a lot of schools lack the structure, and there's a lot of value within that when it comes to centralizing everything and having a robust platform to assist one in this world. It breeds confidence, not only to be able to kind of relay that and communicate that to sponsors, the data, but also, once again, internally within a school and creating that visibility. And then, as mentioned, I think this is definitely a partnership play, not only when it comes to the partnership relationship side from a school and a sponsor perspective, but also a partnership from our side that we can help schools within this space. And then lastly, obviously a big focus on helping schools be more sustainable, helping them unlock additional revenue and streamlining things on their side when it comes to sponsors and how they manage it. And then maybe just lastly, what I can mention is a testimonial, or just a brief little summary that a school gave us with regards to what do they say about the platform. So I'll read it out. Altivo has streamlined our sponsorship process by keeping graphics, ad allocations, and inventory all in one place. The ability to download reports and access detailed analytics is a huge plus, providing valuable insights to optimize our strategies. Overall, it is a reliable, user-friendly tool for efficient sponsorship management. Okay, I think I once again really appreciate everyone making time and listening to me this morning. I hope there's you got some value, maybe planted a bit of seeds in your mind and some information to digest. I will be back a bit later. I'll give over to my colleague now to showcase the actual platform, and then I'll join him a bit later afterwards if there are any questions, and then we can unpack those together. Once again, thank you. And yeah, just want to introduce Pierre, my colleague. He was the developer of the platform to take us through the actual platform. Thanks, Pierre.
Thank you, Wynand. Good morning, everybody, from my side. Thank you so much for your valuable time. We know that schools are really busy, and we really appreciate your time and the opportunity to be able to show you the product that we've created. So I just want to start off by saying that please don't get intimidated by the amount of data. This platform was really built on the back of engagement with actual schools. It wasn't something that we just thought up from our side and from our own thoughts and our own views and opinions. It was built because of the need and the pain points that we saw at schools, and the way that it makes sense, and to really structure it so that they are, like Wynand said, in a position of confidence, so that they have structure, so that they have visibility, and that everything is centralized. And this has all been put together because of those needs and those pain points. First off, before I get into it, I also just want to mention that we do offer our assistance to schools with importing your first initial big load of data. So if you have, for example, let's say a spreadsheet where you keep advertisers or your sponsor details, if you have payments details, so all of the different payments and the transactions that is related to your sponsorship environment, and then also your inventory. So inventory being your different asset types, whether it be physical, let's say billboards, or let's say it's a TV screen or something that shows ads at a school, whatever the case is. And then also things like digital, where it might be space on your website, or let's say you have a digital newsletter and you have a couple of spots there that you have for sponsors, where you give them exposure. But it can also be other different things like VIP gifts, like things that you do for your top sponsors. If you Sorry for that. Okay, now you see the platform. Luckily, I was still busy with my intro. Assets, so the different asset types can also be something like you potentially give a free invitation or a free 4-ball invitation to a school's golf day, or a capping ceremony, or anything like that. So we believe that if you start measuring and tracking all of those different things that you give to a sponsor that has value, those are your assets. Those are the things that you need to keep track of, so that you're in a position that you can actually report back on what have you given to a specific sponsor, whether it be, like Wynand said, to SGB, to the principal, or to the sponsor itself. Okay, the platform. The smallest building block of this platform or the solution is the value exchange that happens between a sponsor and a school. And there's very interesting examples of what we've seen and that we've come across. And a school has to be agile, and they have to be flexible. But I haven't come across any school that's in a position to tell a sponsor, no, we don't want to take your money. No, we don't want the thing that you want to give to us. And they should be able to manage and track that efficiently. But The value exchange that I'm referencing to is exactly that. But what usually happens, if I can use an example, is let's say you have a big sponsor that has made a commitment over 1, 2, 3 years, and they have promised or committed a lump sum, a big cash payment, whether it be a payment per month, 12 payments across a year, or whether it be just one big, one lump sum payment. A school has to then give value back to that sponsor. And that usually isn't just one big thing like the transaction was. It's usually made up of a list of different things. So it can be exposure on a specific billboard next to the A field or the B field or whatever over a specific period of time, and that has a certain value. The school has priced that at a certain price. But it can also be extra space on a website. It can be extra space on a newsletter, anything like that. And the school has to keep track of all of these things. But it can also, like I mentioned, include some special VIP stuff. Like you come to our capping ceremony, you actually hand out the caps to the first cricket team or whatever. We take a video of that, and we take photos of that, and we post that to our social media. That again has been exposure that you've given to the sponsor. That again has immense value. And all of those things should be tracked and should be captured in a centralized platform. Okay. First off, when we look at the platform, we see those pretty green bar charts and pie charts at the top. The first one shows us the total amount of value that we've received for CY current year. Then it breaks it down. So the total amount was just under 400,000 at that line. The green shows us the balance, and the dark green shows us the total value allocated. So that means total value allocated in this regard is what is the value that we have allocated back to our sponsors. Okay, so this shows us we've received a lot. We've allocated value back to those sponsors in the amount of 92,000 and a little bit, some change. And that is still the amount that we haven't allocated. Now, it is up to the school whether they want to allocate the full 100% back to a sponsor, or whether it's a 90% or whatever the case is. This gives you the ability to keep track of that very efficiently. On this side, like I mentioned, assets, different asset types. And for each of these asset types, you have a different amount, or you have a number of units. So let's say you have a newsletter, and in that newsletter, you have 6 A5 spaces available. So you have the monthly newsletter, if it's a monthly newsletter, and you have 6 units. So this shows us the total amount of units is 65-ish, 65 units across all asset types. It shows us the units that are still available, and it shows us the units that have currently been allocated. Then on this side, it shows us the amount per advertiser in a simple pie chart. Then to the right, it shows us the value allocated per advertiser again. So this shows you, if you hover over it, you can see what the actual value is, and you can see what the actual value allocated is. Ideally, this should point you towards what you should action next, because ideally these two should look very similar. So the value that somebody has given you, you've given them the same proportional amount of value back. Okay, next up we have totals. So down here we see just a row with the totals. It shows us the total advertisers, which is broken down further in the block further down below. It shows us the total amount. So these correspond with the graphs and the charts above that. Total amount of value allocated, total balance, total units allocated, total units available, and total units. Then it shows us the annual inventory value. Now, this is an interesting one, because I wonder how many schools actually know exactly what their annual inventory value is, and how much they have available to commercialize within a year. If you know that, you're in a position to be able to do a lot with that. Then it shows us asset types enabled and number of asset types, so in the system. And I'll show you what that refers to when we get to the inventory section, because something we've picked up is that it's really interesting, the variation from school to school when you look at the different asset types. And what we've done is, and what I've heard is, schools when they attend, when they compete against rival schools or whatever, or schools close by, they would, especially the marketing personnel, would look around and see what are they doing? What do they have? Do they have something that we could potentially do, and so on? And now in this system, we've actually captured all of that. So you're able to see a very big list of all of the different asset types that we've come across. And you're in a position to be able to check, what do we have and what can we actually unlock or create at our school to create more value, to drive this annual inventory value up. Okay, if we move down further, a breakdown, like I said, per advertiser or per sponsor. So shows you the total amount of value, total value allocated, the balance, the total units allocated, the date of receipt, so that first date of receipt. It shows us the exposure target. So you're able to capture what do they want. Usually when a sponsor, especially some of the bigger sponsors, when they speak to schools, they say, I want that spot or that spot. I want the logo on the rugby jersey, or I want that board next to the A field, whatever the case is. You're able to capture it in the system, and you're also then able to go and check, where do we have space, where do we not have space, where do we have too many sponsors on it, and where should we focus. If we wanted to, and that's something that's generic across the platform, is any header that you see, you're able to click on, and it sorts it from A to Z or Z to A, or big to small, and other way around. So you're able to see, we currently have that amount, that number of sponsors on cricket. Those are the ones on rugby. So you're able to very quickly see how many sponsors we have, focusing on what sport or what area of the school. This is not just sport. It can be anything that you need to keep track of, can be added in here. Then it shows us the days left. So this pertains to allocations. So an allocation is just when you allocate a specific asset type to a specific sponsor for a duration of time. So this just shows you how many days are left on that allocation per advertiser or per sponsor. All right, that is the dashboard. Now I am going to quickly open up the navigation, the menu on the side here. I'll just quickly run through this, and then I'm going to go into some of them. So as you can see, central overview is the dashboard. We have school profile, of course, where you capture all your school data. We have an inventory, like I mentioned, where you manage all your assets, and you can see which ones, how many units are available, how many units have been allocated. We have payments, so where you can actually capture your payments. We have advertisers, which is the sponsor profile page. And then we have asset allocation, so where you actually capture and add those allocations. We have a couple of other things, like an onboarding guide that helps you if you forget what to do where, and you forget how to approach it. It helps you to just get back to that and to know where to go and to do what. Then we have package and package details, so you can actually in the system also package those assets together. I know schools usually have packages like this available. Sometimes the school's in a position where they need to create a custom package, but sometimes they're also in a position, or they have generic packages which they can allocate over and over again, depending on availability. Then we also have tiers. So tiers is where you set up your sponsor classification based on the amount that they've sponsored. So it's a minimum and a maximum, and there's a name, and you say, if a sponsor has given me between this and that, we see them as a middle sponsor, a top sponsor, a VIP, and all of that stuff. So some of this you would typically just set up once, and that's something that we can help you with. And some of the other things, some of the other pages or app views are where you'll actually spend more of your time, and then it feeds back into the dashboard. So First things first is a school profile. Across this whole platform, there's always a little add button in the top right corner. So there's a lot of generic actions and things that you can do that stay the same. So if we click on add, it's just a little form, and I wanna say that just focus on the form. Sometimes it can be a bit daunting and it can feel a bit intimidating, but if you just fill in the form step by step, we've heard back from schools that makes it so much easier to just get into the forms, start populating. So school profile, logo, name, all of the typical detail. I'm just going to open this one because I want to show you how easy it is to edit it after you've created it. So you just click on any block or any row and it opens up a detail view across the whole system. And then there's always a little edit button at the top. So this is just demo sample data, typical details you would fill in, PBO number. If you are registered as a public benefit organization, then purpose of this donation, which is for which gets used in the Section 18A tax certificate. So that is important. You can add your own thing there if you wanted to, but there is a standard one that pulls the school name dynamically through. So it isn't necessary to add something else there, but you can. Then also a certification statement, same thing again, pretty standard one. Then you are able to upload a signature, you're able to upload a file. So like Wynand mentioned, a sponsor policy or a borgbeleid, something like that. Some document that you usually go and look for in a different folder, you can keep it all here centralized. All the typical details, school website, and then the bank details if you wanted to use the invoices that the system generates for you. You obviously need to add those, add the banking details there. Okay, that is the school profile. Next up, we will move to the inventory. So again, like I mentioned earlier, if you have something like this in Excel, it's very easy for me to just import it in here. I'm willing to help schools to get that in here and get them up and running. So if we start with that, then you'll have a set list basically as just after I've imported it, or you can go and again, either just fill in a form, click add, what is the asset type, name, size, detail. Yeah, you can add specific or anything else, any other specific. So if you type in there, you can add anything else in there. Is it enabled, yes or no? What is the category? So what type of asset is this? Is this specifically, is it just advertising? Is it a reward? Is it a VIP gift? Is it something that you only give to your top sponsors? Is it a barter? Because I've heard about some interesting barter agreements between schools and sponsors. And then how do you sell this? Is this a once-off thing? Is it something that your pricing is per year, per week, or per month? And then how many units do you have available? Like I said, with the newsletter, let's say you have 6 spots in your newsletter, in your monthly newsletter, I would have 6 over there, and then I would give it a value per unit. So what do I price it at? Then there is a little AI feature or bot or helper in here as well. I just quickly want to show you an example. So I went to yearbook down here. I clicked on the row. It opened up a detail view. And if I wanted to, because something that we hear from schools a lot is they don't have a lot of confidence in their pricing. So how do I know how to price this? How do I know what is a reasonable price for this asset type per unit? So something you could do is you come down here, click yes, please. So it says need AI help, yes, please. And then you add more info. And then if you save that, it'll run some stuff in the background. It'll go to Gemini and it'll return a suggested price. So an AI suggested price that you could use as a guide. Okay, that is the inventory. Something else I just quickly want to mention here before I move on is it shows you for example, all of the stuff you've just filled in, but then it also calculates. It shows you what is the annual value I have for this specific asset type. How many units are currently allocated? How many units are currently available? What is the annual value that we still have available? And then you are able to, in that form, add a cost per unit. If you have that, and if you can add the cost per unit, it will give you more insight, like what is the profit per unit, what is the cost per type, what is the profit per type. And the idea with this is to, after you've worked with it, after you've added more data, to be in a position to look at what are our most profitable asset types. Can we actually generate, or can we actually create more of those? Can we unlock more of those? And then also on the other end, which ones are our least profitable? Do we really need to continue with that? Is it just effort and just costing us money and it's not really worth it? But this puts you in a position to make some of those data-driven decisions. Okay, next up, we go to advertisers. So there's a dedicated advertisers app view. Before I show you that, I just quickly want to show you, you'll see there's a tier column down here. I just want to show you, when it comes to the tiers, it's pretty easy to set up. In the beginning, you'll set up these levels. So a minimum and a maximum. You can use, for example, a prospect where you say that the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 1 rand. So if it's somebody that you are in conversations with, but it's not locked in, the deal hasn't been closed, you can actually keep track of them in here as well. So this is where you'll just set up those tiers, and then it automatically classifies your sponsors by that. Okay, again, little add button at the top. You'll just fill in advertiser name. What is the current status? Have they paid? Have they not paid? Contract sent, contract signed, renewal. Have they cancelled? So yeah, you can keep track of that. Again, you are able to type in any of those, or just use some of the options currently available. Then is it donor type? So this is also obviously very important for the Section 18A. Is it a company, individual, or trust? Then all the typical details, address, registration, or ID if it's an individual, tax number, VAT number. What is the nature of donation? So what is the nature of the donation that you're getting? Is it cash, property, goods or services? Is it gift in kind? Anything like that. What is the total amount that they've committed to the school? Whether it be for this current year, whether they are making 12 payments or 1 payment, you can capture that there. How many payments do you foresee them making? Again, I've seen that schools don't necessarily know how much they're going to get throughout a year and how many payments, but they are able to come back into this and just edit it. Then for the specific payments, you don't actually need to go to the payments section directly. You can access it from here. So if you click new and you add this in, you add this detail in here, what is the actual amount for a specific payment, that payment's date of receipt, payment number what, so is it 1, 2, or 3? Again, you can capture the nature of donation, because I have also seen that schools tend to sometimes get different types of donations from from sponsors throughout a year. You can capture the payment method if you wanted to. There's a space for a proof of payment so that everything is centralized in one spot, and then the invoice number for this specific payment, and then it generates a payment, an invoice for you. Here you can capture the asset summary, so what are they actually getting for this specific payment, again, number of units and so on, and then you're able to add comments in there if you have any, if there's anything you need to stay aware of. And then something I've also gotten from schools is, can we have more file fields so that I can upload more PDFs and more files so that I have those spaces. So in here, in the advertisers section as well, in this form, as we continue down, you'll see there's an exposure target. So here you can actually select where do they want exposure, what did they ask for. Again, here you can select any of those, and you can select multiples of these. And again, you can also type in anything there if it's something specific. contact person, number, email, and then their birthday. What is their birthday, so that the system can send you those reminders so that you can say happy birthday to the person, because that really does go a long way in that relationship building. Then there's a space for contract, and then, like I mentioned, there's space for 2 more attachments if you needed them. It also then creates automatically, it generates a Section 18 reference number for you. So it includes your PBO number, the year, and the number. Then again, you can add comments. If this is on an advertiser level, you can add comments in there. And then it asks you, create Section 18A. Sometimes you don't need to create those, so that isn't necessary. But sometimes you don't know when you will need the Section 18A. But it's also a case of you don't necessarily know, let's say in the beginning of the year, when they will have made their last contribution to the school. So if you know let's say it's at the end of the financial year, or you know for sure that it's the end of the donations from the specific sponsor for this year, you can either go and click yes and it'll generate it for you, or if you have the date, you can click on specific date and you select the date and you save that. Okay. It then looks like this. It'll pull through like that. You'll see these little icons. You can also download this platform as it is onto your phone. We've actually had feedback from schools of how useful that is and how convenient that is. If you are at a sporting event or whatever, and maybe one of the sponsors or the sponsor contact person is there, and they come to you and they want to ask a bunch of questions, you're now in a position to just open up the app on your mobile phone and go to the app view and actually open their profile, and you're able to answer them quickly and efficiently. If you have it on your phone, then you can also use these icons, and it'll open your calling or your phone app, your calling app on your phone, and you're able to SMS. And if you click on this one, it opens up an email with the person's email address already populated. Then it generates those Section 18A tax certificates. It looks like that, so pretty standard, but it has all of the required fields for a valid Section 18A. And down here, it also shows you a little breakdown of the different payments you have received, which again is a requirement. Okay, from there on, I am going to jump to the payments section. So like I mentioned, you can actually add payments details from the advertiser. So if you have it open, as you can see here in this example, you'll see there is a related payments little block that shows you the number of the different payments related to this specific sponsor. And from here, you're able to add them, or you're able to expand and see those filtered. But if I just quickly go to the payment section, so if you, again, let's say you have a sheet, or you can export your payments data related to this, you can send that to me and I can add it in here so that it is available, so that you are able to track it and view it. If you were to just add a payment, the advertisers pull through on a drop down, you add that payment, the amount, all of the typical details that I went through when I was in the advertiser section as well. So you're able to access and to use many of the features from different areas. You don't necessarily have to go into each of them. Okay, so that is the payment section. Next up is allocations. So this is where I believe you will probably spend the bulk of your time. After you've added all of the data, or let's say after I've helped you to add all of these different sections, so you have advertiser data, you have inventory data, and you have payments data, now you're able to connect those dots. You're able to allocate a specific asset type and a specific unit or a number of units to a specific sponsor or advertiser for a specific period of time. And we do that in our asset allocations. Okay, as you can see, typical breakdown here, advertisers, it shows us the allocation type. So was this an individual allocation? So did we only allocate a specific asset type to an advertiser, or is it a package? So this also shows you the package was a bronze package. This was included in that package. It shows us the total value allocated. It shows us the advertiser balance after that allocation, how many units was included, and it shows us the days left, allocation date. So when did we actually do this allocation, or when did we add it to the system? What is the start and end date of that allocation? So from this date to that date, this board for that sponsor needs to be up and running. It needs to get that exposure to the parents. So if we wanted to add a new one, we would click add. We would again drop down, select a specific sponsor. It shows us the advertiser balance so that we know what we have to work with. Then a start date and end date. So I'm just going to quickly just do something like that, just random numbers or random dates. Then what is the asset type we are actually going to allocate now? Let's say it's a newsletter, 1 unit, and it shows us what is the total value that we are going to allocate now if we click save. Then we can also add the specific payment. So that we again connect all of these dots and everything's, we build that relationship within the system between the data. So we can actually add that as the payment. Then down here, it asks you the question fulfilled. So yes or no. Has it been fulfilled? Has it been completed? Is the board up where it should be, or is it still in progress? Are we still waiting for creatives and designs and stuff like that? I know everybody probably has experience with that. And then we also have the option to upload a creative, so an image. So in this image, I would say you could actually upload. This was also, again, a request from a school. If I have, let's say, 6 different units, it's the same thing, but we have different creatives. We're able to upload those creatives so that we can keep track of when was this one supposed to show, when did we need to change it, when. So that's a way for you to track not just the allocation dates and stuff like that, but also keep track of the actual creative that should be used. You can also use this as a proof, or a proof of flight, or a proof of task completed, where you can take a photo of the board where it should be, next to the A field, next to the B field, whatever the arrangement was, and you can keep that proof in here. If you have it on your phone, you're able to go here, click that, and it'll open your camera on your phone, and you can take a photo and it keeps it there, again, centralized in one place. Okay, if you did upload an image, it would just look like that. And if you clicked edit, it would just show you the image down there as well. So you are able to very easily keep track of that. As you can also see down here, the green and the orange buttons just shows you, okay, these ones have been completed, but we still have a lot of orange dots. We still have a lot of stuff to ensure that it gets fulfilled and it gets completed. Along with that, I want to just mention one of the alerts that the system shows you. It shows you red dots for when it's 30 to 0 days left, and it shows you an orange dot for when it's 60 to 0 days left on a specific allocation. Along with the orange dot, so 60 days before it ends, it sends you an email reminder, and it tells you this allocation only has 60 days or less left. Please take action. Please contact the contact person at the sponsor. Let's try and get those renewals. If you look at statistics, it's a lot cheaper and a lot simpler and a lot easier to get renewals than it is to get new sponsors. So it's really important to focus on that and keep on nurturing that relationship proactively. Okay. Then the other alert that also happens is it also sends you, like Wynand mentioned, a low balance alert. So if the balance is less than 10% of what they originally sponsored, it will also send you an email to tell you the balance is low. Contact them, again, trying to proactively get you to make contact with the contact person and to get those renewals. Again, with the birthday, so it sends you that renew or that birthday reminder message to go and message them, say happy birthday. It's not a generic thing. It's going to go to you so that you send them a message, and then all of this data just pulls back into the dashboard, and this gives you the ability then to be able to manage your sponsorship more effectively. I think before we get to the Q&A, we have a couple of questions that usually pop up. So at the moment, one of the big ones is integration. Does it integrate with D6 Finance? It does not integrate with D6 Finance currently. We are looking into that. We are looking into what we would need, and we are planning that. And then, like I said, implementation is it depends. Implementation can be very fast if you wanted an empty template. If you needed my help or you wanted my help to get that initial data into the system, that depends on the data, depends on the readiness of the data as well. But it's one of those things where I'd rather take a little bit more time, fix your data, send me your data, and you're up and running a lot faster than going and adding a single row at a time. That is the end of the actual platform demo, and I welcome Wynand back.
Thanks, Pierre. Appreciate it. Nelia, I don't know if we have any questions online.
Just give them 2 minutes.
Okay.
Ask them if they have any questions. Now is the time.
100%. So let's just give it a minute and then we can answer those. Just maybe while everyone is typing, I think from my side, just want to thank everyone once again for making the time to spend some time with us this morning. I know schools are super busy, so we value your time. I really hope that today was informative and that there was value that you can maybe take back internally, discuss with decision makers, and obviously knowing that if you require, please do reach out to us. Our team is definitely willing to come and set up a meeting, come and discuss how we can help you in this front or on this front in more detail. So if there's a requirement for us to come and demo at your specific school, to the other decision makers, that's definitely possible. So please, please reach out. We look forward to chatting to you and understanding your environment better, and partnering and walking a path together when it comes to sponsors and helping you secure more sponsors and more effectively managing this. From Pierre and myself and the entire team, sincerely appreciate your time, and we look forward to chatting to you in the coming weeks. Okay, Nelia just gave me the thumbs up. She said no questions. It's definitely not a case of ask now or forever hold your peace. Reach out to us. If there's anything that pops up, we'll be definitely happy to come and spend some time at your school and chat to you in more detail. So once again, I really appreciate you making the time, and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll chat again.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Sorry, there's a question.
On 99. Let's go.
How can this help with different sponsors on different events, for example, rugby festivals?
Okay, so obviously from my side, I think once again, when it comes to the sponsors, when it comes to inventory, when it comes to the allocations, there's a lot of flexibility built into the system. So it's entirely up to you with regards to how you would want to best capture that within the system. But it's definitely possible to allocate something for a specific sponsor, label that as the rugby festival, and the assets that you allocate to them, or the exposure that you give them, and the value that you attribute to that. So it's possible to capture that. I don't know if I understand your question exactly, or if that gives you the clarity that you are asking for. But yeah, in my opinion, it's definitely possible to structure it like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the inventory, this is of course up to a school, but we have, for example, and it's a very common question that we have. There's also different levels of sponsorship per event. So you can have an anchor sponsor for a specific event or a specific tournament, and you can capture that in here, and you allocate a specific value to that, and you approach it as if it's an asset type that is potentially a once-off asset type. You can then decide whether you build a package for that, depending on the appetite or the appetite of the sponsor and what their budget is and so on. But I would say you create an asset type, or you create a few asset types that fit in with that, and you allocate that to that sponsor, and you track it the same way.
Any other questions, perhaps?
Will that group those sponsors together then? Same person asking.
So I would say if you wanted to group them together, you would set up a package. So you would create a package. You would say, this package is called Rugby Festival, spelling, Rugby Festival, whatever the case is. Give it a description. It's active, yes. What is the package value? You decide. This is worth 25,000 Rand for that specific thing. So now we have the box, then we can actually fill the box. So what do we include in that? And now we're just going to combine different asset types in that specific package. So there we have Rugby Festival. Now we decide. We include in that, obviously, one event sponsorship. That's one. So let's add more stuff to that box. So Rugby Festival, we add, along with that, maybe prior to that, we have 3 newsletters going out. So you get 3 newsletter units and so on. And that way you can actually build that and combine those different asset types. And then in asset allocations, sorry if I'm going fast, then you would go to what is the actual sponsor? Sorry. What is the actual sponsor? So let's say it's sponsor D. It's a package. It's going to run from this date to that date. And now I just go Rugby Festival. If there's a payment, which is ideal, you can add that in there. If you haven't added it already, you can click on new, add the payment details for that specific event, for that specific package. And I'm going to save it now. And you save it the same way. Click save, and it is then added like package like that, and that way you've just captured your event sponsorship. So that's how I would approach that.
And then you can filter, obviously,
yes,
to only the Rugby Festival, and we'll showcase all the sponsors or line items that's relevant to that.
Okay.
I don't think there's any more questions.
Okay. As mentioned, it's definitely not a case of ask now, forever hold your peace. Reach out to us, please. We'll happily come and meet you at the school, come and chat and answer all additional questions. Obviously, also demo the platform if it needs be for other people at the school. I know that I kind of wrapped up and now we're going back to wrapping up, so I won't extend it any longer. But once again, I really appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to chatting to you in the future. All the best. Thanks again for joining.
Thank you. Have a nice day.